Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Shadow Hour. I'm Greg, and I'm your host. And tonight, broadcast is coming from Dark Horse Paranormal, who is very cordial enough to go ahead and let me fill in for them. Uh, I'm going to be moving come Monday to Supernatural Inc.'s page. So I will be operating out of Supernatural Inc. for both shows, both for Metaphysical Crossing and for the Shadow Hour. Uh, Before I bring my guest on, I'd like to go ahead and mention the fact that there's a few things that I like to mention, and I want to continue doing it no matter where I'm at because a lot of these happen to be quite important to me. And that's number one is the people I support, and that's basically we have PKC Paranormal Normal Kicks Cancer, Chris Gaskowski and Alex Wilkinson from down in Florida, and they do benefits every year for cancer research. They go around the country, and they all do them. They're all paranormal events usually that they do, and that's why it's really interesting. And they do a great job. They've been doing a great job, and that's why I support them. I Secondly, I have Lost Limbs Foundation, my couch, who's now almost retired from it. I'm going to continue doing it until the very end. And Mike's always been a person that I've looked up to. He lost his leg, and when he was recovering, he saw a couple young people, kids in that had lost their limbs, and had heard that. Well, once he had priced one of his, he started to understand and asked some questions and found out that how a child grows. They keep on growing every year, so every time they grow, you'd have to replace the limb, and that becomes quite an expensive venture. So he set up the foundation, and he did quite well, very good actually, and he is an amazing man. And he tried to climb that mountain, and he was with one of the guys from Ghost Adventures. I can't think of his name right now, but that's not important. The important part is that he tried to do it on his own with one leg and made it two-thirds of the way up the mountain. So that's the part that I really enjoy, is the people that I look up to in this great venture that we're all taking as far as the paranormal concerned. And we find out that people have a lot to do with other things besides just the paranormal. Thirdly is lost is Potographs, and it's with Tim Miley. And Tim Miley himself, first starting out with, when his pooch died and he didn't know what he was going to do, he ended up venturing out, and he didn't know whether he was going to make it himself or not. And he had a picture of himself and his pooch, and made copies of it, and went to one of the Paracons and put a table up and actually started selling pictures of himself and his pup for what animals that are sheltered, that are that aren't going to make it, that are going to be eliminated, and all that, to help that all those pups out. So, and he's already gone way beyond what his goal was, and he still does some tremendous events. So if you ever get the opportunity, there's two I think coming up pretty shortly now, and they're both Potographs, and he has some great speakers, and they put on quite a show. So that's the third one. And of course, then it's the Jessica Petrie Foundation. And Jessica actually is Jessica Marie Petrie. And that's Howard Petrie's daughter who died. Uh, she died, and that's a resource for expecting mothers and families with pregnant women with mental illnesses. So he started it out about maybe right around Christmas time is the first time I heard it, and immediately I went ahead and sent him a donation and said if would it be okay if I mentioned it on my show. And it's because that's the kind of effort that everybody has to give for all these people in order to go ahead and help them carry what they're trying to create or what they're trying to attain in their goal. And that's the important part. Author wise, I still stick with the same ones. And we have a new one tonight because that's Victoria Mundae. And then you got Ron Iacovetti, you got Lynn Monet, Dr. Rebecca Foster, Bruce Holliday, Rex Nielsen, and Todd Bates. Look them up, Amazon, check them out. They're great. They're all great people. They all have great stories. Some of them are fiction. Some of them are the truth. Some of them will scare you to death. I hope. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest for tonight. I get happy every time I see this lady because
Aw.
she does such a tremendous job with everything she accomplishes, and she works with a man with a, could you say three brains or is it two?
He's at least 9. I don't know.
Nine brains, and that's
Yeah,
Mike
when
Ripsacker. And Victoria, how long you been working with him now?
3 years. Well, we took a year off, but we're actually cousins. I've told you that, right?
You're
So
actually cousins?
we're cousins. So I'm just as smart as he is, but I'm
Are you
down here in
are you you're
Texas.
not kissing cousins, are you?
No.
Uh, do you know kissing and telling? Is that it?
Now you might get a little side hug or something. I don't know.
Okay.
No, no,
But
we're like
anyway,
18th cousins.
that's 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 where I think we should start out, and we should start out with all the appearances that you make on shows and the shows that you've been involved with. And what to you is the best one that you've been involved with? And is that the one that you put the most time into?
Well, the shadow hour, of course. I mean, do you have to ask?
I I would love to keep you on as a co-host, but I've already talked about that to somebody, and you were always there. But at that point, I wanted to keep it with somebody that was part of the team that I was working
Oh,
with.
absolutely.
Otherwise, you were shooing.
Oh, well, that's nice to know. Thank you. That's a
But you can be
confidence
you
booster.
can be the you can be a replacement too.
Oh, or you could just add me to your team. It's either way.
No, well, it's not my team to begin with. Shadowhunters is not my team.
Okay.
That's Nick Sarlo's, and I
Oh,
am just
Nick.
I am just a mere investigator. I am an ITC guy, and that's what I do, and I love to do it. Except the other night, and this is a pretty crazy story. Wednesday night show, we're going to start Metaphysical Crossing as we usually do at 8 o'clock, and you've been on there, I believe.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, and I would talking to you, and if you can come up with somebody that's close to yourself that can be part of your team, I can get you in the rotation if you'd like.
Hmm.
So work on
We'll, we'll,
that.
we'll think of that. Yeah.
Work on that. And so I'm getting ready to go on. It's like an hour, about an hour and a half before the show starts. And I come downstairs, and what I usually do before I do that show is I do one or two meditations. I do one for just myself in my guidance, and then I do the other one for, how could you say, my channeling.
Hmm.
So I work on those things independently. I put on my headphones. I had stopped upstairs on the way down, and I thought it's going to be a long show tonight. And I looked at the kitchen table, and I had one of my pills that I normally take right around 8 o'clock, and that would have been showtime. So I figured I'll just take it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that pill, and I started doing my meditation, and I was gone. I had the headphones on. They're ringing me on the phone. I was like 25 minutes late when I come on.
Huh.
I really don't know. Was it the pill? They have a tendency to do that to you. At the same time, I was a
Yeah.
little tired, but it wasn't to the point where I knew where I was going and what I had to do. But it actually happened, and I was a basket case.
Yeah. It happened to me today. I lost an hour. I think I was just messing around. I swore I had 2 hours, and then I looked and like, oh, I only have 1 hour. But yeah, I think missing time is becoming more prevalent. I've talked to more people, probably in the last month. They're like, I don't know, I was here, I was gone, I'm back. It's. So I wonder, because they keep saying, with all the solar flares, and how there's all this electromagnetic storms that are happening, and it's hitting the earth. I wonder if that's affecting our synapse. Sorry, try not to shake our synapses a little. I don't know.
It could be without a doubt, but it was something that I don't do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, how did this happen? Because as soon as I went, I had moved my hand and I felt the vibration on the phone. And I went, no. Because all the way, you go to the worst scenario, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I flipped off. I had blinders on. I flipped my blinders on. I popped my headphone off to the side, and I'm looking down at it, and it goes 8:23.
Wow.
And I thought, boy, oh boy. But now that was the end, pretty much. It wasn't the end. It would have been the beginning of this new venture,
Mm-hmm.
And that night I had Katie Stafford on as part of the night with us doing the Estes, and it was like they're all looking at me and they're going, "That's okay, Greg. That's okay. We could start it now. We still have time." And then Carly was having surgery the next day. She was having some wisdom teeth removed.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, well, I don't know if I'm really on to it tonight. And I says, well, then we just cancel it tonight. And we'll start next week.
Yeah, there's just a lot of, well, I like to call it the woo-woo. There's just a lot of the woo-woo going on right now. I was telling you earlier, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your story. You keep going.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to go to a CE5 event last week out east of Dallas. So it would have been out there where you could see the Milky Way and everything. And there were about 12 of us invited, and about 4 of us took really hard falls, and we weren't able to make it. I'm like, what? And we weren't connected in any sort of way. And I took a hard fall. I face planted in the middle of the night. And I'm just now getting where I can move around again. But that's so weird. We were going out there to, trying to contact UFOs, and all of us had the same type of accident. So there's just a lot. And then I know a couple other people, here locally who have taken really bad falls. One of them was my yoga teacher this morning. She took a face plant, and that's just, I've never seen so many people have the same type of accidents so close together.
How many years have you been doing yoga?
Since April. So that's like a third. No, I'm just trying
Excuse me.
Okay. Oh, is this one of those these shows where you take a shot, I can do those.
The only reason I asked is my daughter happens to be as is a instructor and has been for probably the last 20 years.
Oh,
And
see,
she actually conducted a actual class at Red Rock for all the women that wanted to come, and there were like 800 women in the seats that were all set up, and she was down on the stage and she conducted this class and they filmed it.
Oh, that's so cool.
And
Yeah. So
and now she's doing it with little tykes. She has a course set up for little ones.
see, I did it all through high school because I went to, it's so weird. The school I went to was in a synagogue. So there was actually it was an old synagogue and they converted it into a school. And then I graduated in a Baptist church. So what are the odds? Texas. But there was no place for PE. So we all had to take yoga as our physical activity. And so I did it all through high school. And, I loved it. And, life gets in the way and you stop. But I'm trying to get back into it. So I think that's the key to longevity is being flexible. But when we do our meditations at the end, man, I've been drifting off. I was in the Horsehead Nebula the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, am I supposed to be out here?" So I don't know. We're all just going everywhere.
You were in the Horsehead Nebula.
Yeah, you're just drifting out there, and I could
let people know where that is because there's people in here that might need to know that.
I have no idea where that is, but
it is out there quite a bit, I think.
But I could clearly see the stars and the shape. I'm like, this is the Horsehead Nebula. What am I doing out here? And it was just, you're out of your body, literally, and you're just drifting. And it's kudos to your daughter.
I enjoy that, but I don't think I've ever gone that far.
That was the first for me. It's like, whoa, hey, this is cool.
I think I'd have to have a parachute.
I was telling a friend, well, yeah, those would help. We like to play I taught myself how to astral travel and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid. And so a friend of mine didn't believe me. I was like, okay. So I told another friend, okay, I'm going to go in her dream tonight, and I'm going to say something. And about 3 or 4 days later, she goes, I had the weirdest dream about you the other night. And I was like, that's why. So, but you can't do anything to hurt anybody. You just go there and say something and say, I hope you have a restful night tonight and you sleep well, and I'll talk to you later. Just go back, So
can I get you a warm glass of milk and some cookies?
Let me cover you up. Your feet are sticking out, Yeah. But it's just like, red towel. It's like, yeah, you kept talking about a red towel. It's like,
yeah. That is unbelievable. But now we were talking about the shows.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about your first one, which was On the Edge of the Rabbit Hole, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why don't you let everybody know a little bit about that, because that's back on, so you can give everybody all the particulars as far as that's concerned, because it is a really neat show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Edge of the Rabbit Hole is now once a month. It's towards the end of the month. It kind of fluctuates depending on my schedule. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Texas time. I use Texas because it's central. You can figure, add or subtract. And it mainly deals with esoteric subjects or authors or hidden knowledge or anything like that. And we just bring people on and talk to them. And it's not your typical paranormal show. Like this, in 2 weeks, we're bringing on a lady and we're going to talk about the Akashic Records. And last month, see, I don't even know where I am anymore. We had on a psychic lawyer who wrote a book, and he was actually nominated for a Nobel Prize. But it was all about the afterlife frequency, and that's the name of his book. And it's about, how science and spirituality and afterlives can all be combined and say the same thing. So it's a definitive proof of what happens once you cross over. So that's what we do there.
So now that's one show.
Mm-hmm.
Now
that's it. Yeah.
There's another one in there too, isn't there?
I was on another one called Black Lotus Live, but we stopped that earlier this year, I believe.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the man that was the main host, Damian Gray, passed away. And so we just kind of are out there right now. So maybe it'll come back. I don't know. But it would not be the same without Damian. So who knows? But there's a lot of shows on YouTube. Just go to Black Lotus Production, and they're really interesting. Most of them dealt with UFOs and abductees and the UFO experience. And every now and then we'd have something ghosty in there for me. And then we'd go back to UFOs.
So we talked briefly before we came on about what you were up to like last week or the week before.
Yeah.
And I happen to have that same book right there.
Okay.
Okay. And I've had this now for, I think, 2 years. And that's why I brought up Dr. Stephen Greer. Because if I was to get a guest that would be above and beyond anybody from Hellier.
Yeah.
If I could get anybody above like Connor Randall or Carl Pfeiffer or even Greg and Dana Newkirk, it would have to be Dr. Stephen Greer. He's
amazing. I would love to go. I think they're in Arizona where he holds his events, or somewhere in the desert Southwest. I would love to go to those. That's on my bucket list one day. But we're trying here in Texas to bring it, because I was telling you my friends did, even though the majority of us fell and weren't there for whatever reason, they went ahead and had a CE5 event, and she saw anomalies. And she's not saying what they are, but we're going to try again in a few weeks. And
now,
I'm not going to fall again.
Have you seen the movie on that?
No. Oh, wait. Yes, I did. I think
the one where they called him in.
I think I did. I saw.
And this like angelic being came down.
Okay, I didn't see that. But oh yeah, it's really interesting to me, because I've had my own experiences, and if you want to talk about missing time, I apparently lost 40 minutes when I saw a UFO. Didn't know about it, So it's always something that's intrigued me. But,
did that happen down there by you down there?
Yeah, it was back in '93. I was pregnant, and I had gone to my doctor, and I was going to drive, which was a 30-minute drive, meet my husband and have dinner or lunch. And I was going to get there about 15 minutes early, because I'm always early. So I left the doctor 30 minutes. I would have been there early. So I drive and I stop at a red light, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, well, this is weird. I'm in the middle of Houston on the weekday and there's nobody here. And when I looked up at the red light, I saw something silver, and it was just kind of spinning around. I'm like, oh my God, there's a UFO. And I'm looking around to point it out to somebody. And of course, there's nobody there. And so I keep my eye on it, and I'm watching the red light, and I'm looking up. And oh, excuse me. Thank you. So it stays there, and it was just weird. And so when the light finally turned green, I drove through and I looked up, and it was still there. And I crossed through the intersection. I looked up and it was gone. And I was like, huh. So I drove to meet my husband for lunch, and he's like, where the hell you been? I'm like, went to the doctor. I came straight here. There was no traffic even. He's like, you're 40 minutes late. I had to go to lunch already. It's like, what do you mean I was 40 minutes late? I don't. And then a couple of years ago, I was on another podcast, and the host was saying, okay, let me get this right, Vic. You were pregnant. You saw a UFO. You lost 40 minutes, and then you went on your way. I'm like, yeah. Does that mean something? Was I taken? I don't remember. But I don't remember blacking out. I don't remember losing time. To me, I was just looking at, the UFO, looking at the green light or red light, and then I just drove on. So I don't know.
That's the same. That's right out of Mothman Prophecies.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've seen that movie, right? No.
Yes, I did. I have the book.
With Stephen Greer.
Was he in that?
Yes.
Okay, I need to watch that again.
I
watched it a long time ago.
He played John Keel.
I love it when they do that, because even Close Encounters had Jack Valet in there. He had a little cameo, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool when they do that.
But I mean, that's how, to me, that's about as real as it gets.
Well,
Point Pleasant and what happened
yeah.
there and everything else, because that has all those elements, even time, all thrown in at the same time.
Well,
You know
I
what I
was one of our guests on Edge of the Rabbit Hole does past life regressions and stuff, and so she offered. She was very nice. She was like, "You want to get regressed? I'll do it." Like, okay. So we were doing it, and she goes, "Do you have any questions you want to ask?" And so I told her that story, and I was like, "Did I really see a UFO?" And so she did her thing, and she put me under, and we were talking, and yes, I did. And then so I asked him, "Well, why did I see it? Are they watching me?" And she said, "Yes, they are watching you." I was like, "Okay, why are they watching me?" And they said, "Well, because they like you." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's good to know." Okay, dodge that one.
Okay, so now don't start collecting big rolls of aluminum foil and making those little skull caps out of them. Okay, we don't want you to do that. Okay, because if you do, I want you to make me one.
Okay, sure.
Because if
You know,
people saw me making it, that would be the last card before they'd commit me. You
nah.
know,
Maybe we can get like a Burger King crown and kind of like put some foil over it and just make it look normal.
that's not the same. You got to have it right shaped to your head, and then you got to have that antenna right in the middle of it.
I actually, because I'm so quirky, I guess if you want to put it that way. In '97, I lived in Southwest Houston, right off Highway 90, and so for my vacation with my family, I said, "Let's just drive out Highway 90 to New Mexico, see where we go." And so we spent 10 days going up and down Texas, and finally we got to New Mexico, and we ended up at what they were calling at the time the 50th anniversary of the alleged crash at Roswell. It was before all these UFO people got, UFO crazy. And I got to see so many famous people. I mean, Eric Von Däniken was there, or Danken, or how you say his name. Linda Moulton Howe was there. Stanton Friedman was there.
Wow.
It was just like all these big people, but they weren't that big then. I mean, they were big, but they weren't big. And it was just an amazing week. And it was so much fun. So.
Do you think there's a reason why they were all drawn there at the same time, and you were there with them?
Well, maybe I was guided there. I mean, they were having.
There's a connection.
They were having a convention in Roswell, and they couldn't say it was the 50th anniversary of the crash. They called it the alleged crash, and so they turned it into like a big party. There was Ferris wheels, and there, the guys at the car wash that do the jiggly things. They had those guys out there, and they had a lot of military personnel out there too. It was just a lot of fun to go to a little town, in the middle of nowhere, to embrace ufology way before. I don't want to say it was trendy, but way before it was trendy, and they really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I mean, Linda Moulton Howe is just so sweet. I saw her at the local Village Inn. We were all there for pie. So she stopped and talked to me for a while and gave me her autograph. And I was like, "You're amazing." And they had just had the Phoenix Lights like earlier that year. I think it was that year. And so she gave a speech on the Phoenix Lights. And her point of view was they weren't just lights hanging in the sky. She took a little laser and she drew it. She goes, "Look, you can see the ship." And it was just like, that's what that was. Those were outlines of a UFO that was hanging over South Mountain.
They were all red lights, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were just hanging in a perfect formation over South Mountain. Or actually, it was over the Australia Mountains, and Australia is Spanish for stars. Hello, can you get any more connection going on there? So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That gets you all excited when you talk about that?
Can you tell? Am I blushing?
You got me all pumped. I'm ready to go. I don't care what anybody else is willing to do.
I mean, if anything, when we have the next CE5 event, we're going to be out in the beautiful countryside of Texas, and you can see the stars. That alone is worth the ticket, to maybe.
Is there any? Is there any precautions that you would take when you go out there? In other words, would you have an aluminum lawn chair.
Do they still
With,
make those?
yeah, I think they do.
With the weave? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Would you have something made out of metal like that, or would it have to be plastic?
Um, I have my own camping chair. It's very nice. It's got the little koozie holder on the side. I was just going to take that. But as far as protection go, I think they do a meditation beforehand. I think that's part
Okay.
of Dr. Greer's thing, because there's an app you can download. And I really don't trust apps that much. But supposedly you download this app and you do that meditation and you see visitors. And there's something about a laser. I don't know. Maybe it's a big cat alien with my luck. You shine a laser and then they kind of go to the area where the laser is. So that's the last thing we need, is a cat alien.
As long as you said that again about the cat. Did you see that little cat video about "I love you," where the cat is talking and that guy's playing like 6 different musical instruments?
Oh,
Have you seen that one?
no,
Oh,
but
oh
I've
God,
seen the one where the cat walks around and he's going, hello,
that's
sometimes
it.
I'm alone. Yes. Oh my God, that makes me cry. Oh,
But the guy's there,
I know.
and then he plays. He actually puts music to what the cat's doing.
That's what Toby does. He'll walk around and, Mom. And I'm like, I'm right here, honey. Baby, I'm right here. It's like, every night.
I'm gonna say hello to some of these people right now.
Okay.
Just take a second. We got George and Dexler. We got Azriana Trudel. We have Dino Rocks. I don't know who Dino Rocks. Found you. Who's Dino Rocks? Barbara Woodbury Spear, Marilyn Bast, Anne Marie Young, Irene Akiro Akiko, and Jamie Lynn Keller. Irene is from Japan,
Oh,
and
nice.
I butcher her name every once in a while. And everybody else is there, and that's where we're at right now. And for anybody that's late, of course, everybody knows Victoria.
Ghost head soup.
That's
Dino
beautiful.
rocks. Dino rocks.
Oh, ghost head soup.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Dino. That's Dean
Yeah.
Thompson.
He's awesome.
Yes, he is. You've been on his show quite a bit, huh?
About 803 times. It's
800 free.
Dean's fault that I bought a banjo. I just want to say that. Yeah.
He's
Because-
got that picture on the side of his locker of you. I don't know if
No.
he told you about that. but-
No. The first time he said, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" I'm like, "Sure." What's it called? He goes, "Paranormal Pickers." Honestly, I thought, okay, well, maybe it's from like Kentucky. Maybe they embrace the paranormal and bluegrass live.
Ding, ding. No, he didn't.
There's a banjo. Well, you can't see it. It's dark. I bought a banjo because of it. Teaching myself how to play.
Are you teaching yourself?
Yeah, it's going very slow. It's about as fast as yoga.
I know a lady at the VA who teaches guitar.
Oh, see, nobody teaches banjo. I already learned guitar. Yeah.
But I bet you that's pretty close.
It's there's different kinds, from what I've learned in my limited knowledge, different ways you can play the banjo. Most of it is finger picking, which is what I want to concentrate on. But then there's a strumming, which is like from another part of the bluegrass area. It's a strumming. It's really pretty. There's a group I love. It's called the Dead South. If you ever listen to them, they're just amazing. They like cover old songs, like "You Are My Sunshine." But just the way they sing it, you get goosebumps and shivers and chills. And there's a really great banjo.
Do you play any songs?
No, I was going very slow. I did play
because your friend from Paranormal Pickers says she played it for me too.
Yeah, and that's the last time I played it too. No, but I did play classical guitar for a while, and then when I got divorced, my husband stole my guitar. So I'm like, well, screw you. I'll move on to something else.
Stole your guitar?
No, it was a bad divorce. Yeah.
Jamie Lynn Keller says, say hi to Toby for me.
He's under here somewhere. I don't know. He's under my feet somewhere.
Mom.
He thinks he knows me. When I get up in the morning, he comes down to the office and sits there. I'm like, baby, it's 109. It's too hot to go in the office right now. We're going to be there later. So we're working in the kitchen today. So but poor cat.
So with your paranormal techniques, we have talked about this before, and we talked about, our relationship as far as, the Estes method and things like that. Have you come into any revelations lately pertaining to it?
To the Estes?
Yeah.
I think the one we did with Reggie was really amazing. And because when he was doing his little box there at the end, we're trying to figure out why my dad was here. It clearly said to me my daughter's name, Ciara. And that's exactly the way my dad would say it. Her name is Sierra, but he would always call her Ciara. I was like, can't you just say her name right? So I sent that clip to my daughter and said, what do you hear here? Well, I don't want to swear like she did, but she's like, damn it, Grandpa, just leave me alone. So she goes, I hear my name. He's saying my name. So, but yeah, there is a connection. And especially because I had some friends who were watching that night, and they've only done Estes like when we were in the same room together. They've never tried it across the country like we were doing it that night. And the way I have rationalized it in my mind is it's all about vibrational frequencies. It's not this little 3D, 4D world that we live in. You have to come into a higher consciousness, and it's just the same thing as stretching your arm out. It's like no effort whatsoever. You can connect that way. So I think we definitely proved it that night, especially with the beep beep.
I don't think it's any different than what Dr. Stephen Greer is doing, because he's taking everybody and doing a group conscious too.
Yep, that's all it is, really.
And I mean, a collective conscious, if you want to say collective.
Yeah, I think people are making it harder than what it really is. I keep saying, and I tell some of my friends, it's like, imagine your life and you're inside a shoebox. Okay, you're in the little, Tom McCann shoebox, and then you stand up on the edge of the shoebox and you're looking in, and you can see all the players in the shoebox. That's what it is. You have to step out. You have to step out and look around, and you can connect. So much easier that way.
Did you have to use Tom McCann?
I love my Buster Brown shoes.
Buster Brown.
I would get a new pair of Buster Browns every year. So those were great.
George just said hello, and that's George and Dexler. And
hello.
He's a great guy. He's usually around whenever we're trying to do something. But that's the important part is understanding that the connection is there, and it's pure, and it's for us in spirit. Where a lot of other people bring other things into play on it, which I don't think is necessary.
Yeah.
If you see where I'm going with that, because, some people will say the next thing, okay, bring me an apple. That kind of the magic stuff.
Yeah.
If I can say magic stuff. And when you brought up the shoebox and looking in it, and you remember you mentioned the past lives. When I did my first one, the gentleman or the doctor that did it with me at that point had gone ahead and used a little different technique where he told me, what do you see? And I said, I'm in a corridor. I'm walking down the corridor. He says, are there rooms? I said, yes, they are, but the doors are closed. He says, pick a number. And I says, how does he know there's numbers on the doors? And I just looked at this door and there was a number on it. And I went to the next one and I said, well, okay, how about 32? And he goes ahead and he says, okay, open up the door. And what do you see? And then I told him everything that I saw. And it was like, and then he would ask me questions about what I was dressed in, who I was, who I appeared to be, and that kind of thing, and what kind of vehicle was I in, and all the way down the line, and it was just like amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
then I ran in that same one years later. I ran into my father in the middle of the South Pacific on two different warships at Okinawa.
It's because we have a soul family and we're all connected. I've done that many times. Same experience where I was in a kitchen in like the 1400s or something. And the lady told me, look around, who do you see? I'm like, well, that's my little brother, but that's actually not who he is in this life, this life. And that's my stepmother. And she wasn't a stepmother in that life. And so we are connected. We keep coming back, I think. So yeah, one of my fears is swimming, or well, maybe it's not swimming, maybe it's drowning. And I've always had this fear of water. And I went into a Titanic exhibit back in the 80s. I freaked out. I panicked. I couldn't, I had to get out. And anytime I tried to do anything with the Titanic, I just start gasping like I can't breathe. And I start crying. And so with the help of the lady who helped regress me, I could see my legs. I could see my feet. I could see the water coming up. I knew I was an Irish male. I knew I died. I knew I was down there in the parts that couldn't get out. And ironically, when we were going to Ireland with Edge of the Rabbit Hole, which I didn't make, we were going to do an investigation on Spike Island. And Spike Island is the last place where the Titanic stopped to pick up people to go on the ship. Of course, it was the Irish people. And so I'm like, okay, now I got to figure this out. So I found the manifest of who they picked up on Spike Island. I started searching. So I knew I was like a male around 23, 24, 27, somewhere in there. I could kind of see the friends I was with. And so I narrowed it down to the men of a certain age that were picked up on Spike Island. And one of them was named Henry Thomas. The weird thing is, my favorite uncle, who is like the black sheep of the family, is named Thomas Henry. And so I'm like, okay, that's got to be who it is. I mean, it's not the same person, but that's too much of a coincidence that my favorite uncle is Thomas Henry, and the man that died on the Titanic was Henry Thomas. So I'm like, and I'm getting goosebumps now just even thinking about it. So
yeah.
Okay, that's confirmation right there for me, at least.
Well, we have to get together one of these times down in Texas. I have a friend down in Houston, but that's like 900 miles from you, isn't it?
Pretty much. It's about 6 hours from here. This November, as a shameless plug, in Jefferson, Texas, which is where I wrote my book, that all takes place in Jefferson, we're having a paranormal conference called History, Haunts, and Legends. So it's November 4th, I think is the date. But we have speakers and vendors, and I'm a vendor this year. And it's just a good old time in a little haunted town in the middle of nowhere, Texas. So we have investigations, and it's fun.
Is that the hotel that you were in?
Yes. I've been there a couple of times. The first part of the book is about the hotel where I accidentally stayed by myself alone. Whoopsie, didn't mean to, but I was the only guest there. You just don't go to these places on a Wednesday afternoon, I guess, unless you want to be by yourself. So there was a lot of adventures that happened there, a lot of paranormal things, a lot of things. Had it not been like 28 degrees, I might have walked outside and left, but it was freaking cold, so I wasn't going to go anywhere. So I just sucked it up and said, okay, can you do any more? Let's hear it, And then the second half of the book is about the other adventures I had last November, about this time last November. I went back and there was a lot. The whole town is freakingly haunted. There were ghosts everywhere. There's spirits everywhere. You were seeing Civil War people walking around in the graveyards, and just like, hey, how you doing?
Are they all Confederate down there?
Most of them, because that used to be a very heavily Confederate town. So, I mean, they do honor the Confederates. It's not like, yay, we were on the wrong side, but, they were military people, and, they gave their life for what they believed in.
Right.
Good, bad, or ugly. And everything is named after someone who was from the Confederacy, pretty much, like Jefferson.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what That's what brought us all together. If
Hmm.
you really stop to think about it, that even though so many guys died,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for that war, we wouldn't be what we were up to a certain point recently.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
it'll come back
seem
too.
well, we seem to have come unglued because the respect that should have been shown for both sides is not being shown for both sides.
Yeah.
And that's my point is that, there's no way they should have done half of what they've already done.
Yeah.
It's
We're in
it's wrong. I
there's a huge lack of respect for our history and our elders, and that's very unfortunate. I see it in my daughter and her friends and just that age. But I think they're going to go through some growing pains, and everything swings back around. And so I think history will become important again, and people will embrace their heritage and say, good, bad, or ugly, this is where I came from, and this is what we did, and you know,
Jamie Lynn Keller says, I want to know how many of Victoria's activity books Greg has. I have all of them, Jamie Lynn.
no,
And
even the kids' books.
I colored every one of them in high detail.
Ooh. Well, now I've started a new thing. I'm playing around with AI artwork. And who knows? I've been doing all this stuff. Yeah, I'm doing the tarot redefined, basically, making it more of a divine feminine, um, women empowered artwork. And some of it's coming out really good, and some of it comes out where a lady will have 16 fingers on one hand. So anyway, it's still got some bugs in the system, but we'll see. We'll see how that works.
I had my cards sitting for about almost a year. And I just looked over one night and it was just like grab them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we even used it in the Psychics Unite meeting that night. And
Oh, nice.
I did a little readings but I still use the book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, no. Throw the book out.
No, but I can't.
Yeah.
I'm that new. I've only
Oh,
got 3 years, and I
oh.
don't even have a month of real experience.
It's all about your intention or your intuition. What you see something different every time you look at a car. I forgot who I was reading for, but I have a Celtic deck, and a lot of times I don't wear my contacts. I need them for reading. And I was reading for a friend of mine. I was like, I don't know why there's always vultures on the bottom of these little bird or this card. There's these two vultures on each side, and I looked really closely. Oh, those are orchids. I'm sorry. I thought they were vultures for like 10 years. So, but to me, that always meant something, like in vultures, it was a card where, people are hungry and they're ripping apart. And it's like, oh, it's orchids. Okay, never mind.
But I started collecting decks.
Do you have the Hello Kitty deck? Because that's the one I really want.
So,
It's pricey. It's like probably $300 now. It was a limited edition.
for a deck,
Yeah, it was Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty, and it was on a sheet. You actually had to rip them apart, and then you colored them. So if you can find the Hello Kitty deck with the sheet still intact, that's some big money there.
so I have to send it to you, and then you'll color them all.
No, you keep them in the box, and you just like, ah, they'll go back next to Salvador Dali over there.
Oh boy. See, Adriana says I'm better at oracle cards than tarot.
There's so many different kinds of oracle cards. I mean, there's like the romantic ones, and then there's inspirational ones, and um, the lovers. Those seem to be the ones I always get, or the new agey ones with inspirational messages and stuff. And so I've
Just
never really been able.
just an old-fashioned girl.
I stick with my 78 cards, and
So, what do you plan on doing this fall and into the winter this year?
well, hopefully I'll have a job soon, like next week. Fingers crossed. Then I can give up my.
Everybody pray that Victoria gets a job.
Please, and one that will stick this time. That's all I want. It's a job that sticks. Well, I had started a couple of books. I had one that I was writing and I had to stick it aside. It was called Romancing the Tombstone. It was a nonfiction book about a woman who inherited a haunted brothel, and she had to go back and decide, was she going to stay there, and live her past, or was she going to sell it and move to the future? Which one is she going to do? So I had to put that one on the side. And then I had another one. I don't want to tell because it's such a good idea. You would love it. I'll tell you later. But it's a nonfiction one. It's a part of history that we didn't learn here in Texas. And when I found out about it, I was like, what? I had never heard of that before. So we were going to do paranormal investigations at these certain locations because there is still activity at these places. But it's just a part of history we've forgotten, or we're never taught. And we're still doing Edge of the Rabbit Hole once a month for now, but I think it's going to eventually go to twice a month. That's just me saying that. What else am I doing? That's pretty much it. I'm getting ready for Halloween. It's already Halloween. It stays Halloween here all year. What am I saying? I just don't undecorate. So
have you done any investigations outside of Texas?
Accidentally. I didn't know investigations were a thing. I used to live in Arizona, and I went to the Birdcage Theater one time, and at that point, it was $2, go in, do whatever you want. Now it's all kind of roped off. Yeah. Yeah, and so I went in, you could go anywhere. We played the piano. Now there's big signs, do not touch the piano, So, we were just having a good time. So the way the stage is, it's very long. And then if you're facing the stage on the left-hand side, there's just like a little 4 or 5 steps. You go up and you can get on the stage, and we were up there playing. And I went up on the stage, and when I did, this burst of perfume hit me, and I was like, whoa, and I was looking around like, where did that come from? Because I was the only one in there, and people weren't in there because, Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters hadn't been created yet, And so I walked around. I used my very Scooby-Doo sense of smell, and I followed the scent around, and it went up to a door, which was like, I guess they stored props and stuff there. And so I was walking around, and you go across backstage, and there's the Black Mariah, which is the $1 million hearse that they use because it has curved windows. Yeah. So I went past that. And then you go downstairs, and that's where the some more of the little rooms are. And there was like the poker game that lasted like 8 years or something. It never stopped. And as I was going down those stairs, third eye saw a woman running up, and she was like, get out of my way, I got to go. And she was definitely a woman on a mission. And a couple of years ago, I was talking to Rob Goudreau after he wrote his book about going to Tombstone. And I was talking to him. I was like, yeah, I saw that lady. And he's like, what lady? And I started describing her. And he's like, how did you see her? It's like, I was walking down the stairs. I saw her, And so it was such a cool validation that, 20 years ago, I saw this lady that he saw maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. Totally didn't know each other then, It's like, oh, yeah, she's still running around. So the best we could figure out is that she was like the madam, because on the other side of the Birdcage was where the hotel was, and she would go and get girls and take them over to the hotel and go down that back door, which is kind of discreet,
Right.
So that was kind of accidental,
I know that in the location, I don't remember if I had mentioned it to you or not, but there's a place in northern Wisconsin that I've been part of for probably 50 years. And it's the old lodge that was there from the 1880s.
Oh, nice.
And it was a combination of field stones and logs. So it was like a log cabin with field stone walls. And the man who built it, the lake was named after. And at that particular time, they're going through a big logging of the North Woods. And they're trying to come up with these super pine trees that were hybrids that would grow super fast, but would give them a good quality log. So they had this area that was called a plantation, and they'd have rows and rows and rows of these trees that would be like 100 deep. and they were all the same size so that they could keep track of all the growing records and everything on them. And that
Oh, nice.
it was unbelievable. Well, anyway, that's just to give you a little idea of what the main character that I'm talking about, whose name was Harry, he was there. He built the wall time for people that would be coming up on the railroad, and he built a mill to be able to saw up a lot of this wood and keep it for the North Woods for building. Well, on his wedding day, he was 30, 31 or 32 years old on his wedding day. He got a call like 4:30 in the morning to go down to the mill, and he went down to the mill, and there was an accident, and he lost his head.
Oh my.
So Harry's been there the whole entire time I've been there, and things started happening quite a few years ago, like 30 years ago, that started to really start to have me change quite a bit compared to my Gettysburg days. And this happened to be on occasion where I had my wife and we had three little kids, and it was raining, so we had to quit camping, and we went and stayed in the lodge
Mhm.
upstairs. There were little rooms with a bed in them. That's all it was. That's where you would sleep. And at the end of the hall was a bathroom, and there were 10 rooms. No, there were one, two, three, there were 8 rooms. And in the middle was a stairway that went downstairs. It was a spiral, and it was created out of white birch.
Ooh.
So it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I got up about 2:30 because I had to go to the bathroom, and I was out of my mind drunk. Okay. And I started walking down the hallway, and somebody was playing the piano. And what's really unbelievable is when I was going by, I could hear it getting louder, and came towards the stairs, and there was a light that shined through the windows downstairs off a shuffleboard court and sort of lit up the back wall. And I could see the piano plain as day, and I could see the pedals going up and down. And I walked by and I said, somebody wound up the player piano.
Yeah.
There were 2 pianos, and the one that I was looking at was not the player piano. And I found that out like 12 years later,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody was really playing that piano.
Yep.
Okay, so then as it turned out, that somebody said it was Harry, because Harry loved the piano. I went up there this last time. They totally destroyed everything. They knocked down the lodge and everything. Unbelievable. And the guy at the store, all that's left in the town is this little store.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to salvage before they knocked the buildings down. They took all the furniture outside, and he went ahead and grabbed both of the pianos. Except in moving the piano, the one that I saw play came apart.
Oh.
So it's in this storefront window of this store, and it's got, parts here and parts there, and they're laying there. And I says, you need to have that put back together again. And I'll bet you right now it'll play by itself. And
Probably.
he just looked at me. He says, hey, anything you say, I believe now, since you were the one that saw it play back in the day. And I says, I imagine a lot of other people saw it too, and this isn't all about me. I just wanted to
Good
relate
story.
that because it's still to this day, it means a lot to me, because my family still battles me about what I believe and what I see and what I do. And, I have a little help with with one of my boys. And then my daughter was my cameraman out at the Stanley. So she was that way for a couple of years because she lived in Denver. So every time we would go out there, we would go to the Stanley.
Yeah. I understand that battle. I mean, my daughter would always go, yeah, right, Mom, whatever. But if any of her friends had problems, she's like, oh, my mom can fix it for you. Like, no, I can't. I can't fix these problems. I can try and, help you. But yeah, can't fix it. So, oh, my mom will read for you. So, she'd have her friends all over. Mom, can you read for so and so?
What do you believe about urns? About ash urns?
I've never thought about them.
When you get ashes from a relative or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple guys that had died and had been found years after. So they basically found their skeletons.
Oh, wow.
So then they created urns for them, and each person got an urn.
That's pretty cool. I have seen urns that when you shine a light on them, it's a special certain company. The profile of your loved one comes out. It's just the way the urn is shaped. Like that would scare the bejeebies out of me. But we don't really do urns here. We're big into spreading ashes. One of my best friends passed away a few years ago, and he loved Vegas. So they took him to Vegas. I think they smuggled him on the airplane, because you're not supposed to bring human remains like that on the airplane. So wherever he really liked Caesars, so they put like 3 tablespoons there, and so they went over to the Mirage. He liked that one. They got 5 tablespoons. He didn't like Binions much. I got 1 tablespoon. So he is spread all over Vegas. And I thought that's kind of cool. It's a little weird. Yeah. But that's totally him. So.
He wasn't into the dancing girls, was he?
Probably the gambling and the booze more.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. They offered me, they said, you can actually take the ashes and create a diamond. Would you like a diamond? Because, that's the only way you're ever going to get a diamond from a man. And I'm like, yeah. You're so mean. So mean to me.
No, I just saw something else there. Philip Wyatt's here.
Dairy Queen.
Hello, hello, Philip. How are you? Spread my ashes at Dairy Queen.
I'm never going to get a dipped cone again, I tell you.
What an amazing guy. I'd love to make it to Georgia just to go ahead and go on an investigation with that man. He is amazing. And he's a beautician,
He can fix my hair then.
I don't know how much he does it, but that's what my wife did since she was 18, so it would be good just to get together with him, just to go and just do some about what we do.
I'm hoping to do that next year. That's my big goal, was to get a job this year where I can afford to travel and have time off to travel, but keep that job long enough where I could travel. So I hope next year to travel. And
what would be the locations? What would be the first 3 locations that you'd want to go to after you had enough to carry you that far, money wise?
Deadwood.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Old West. Michelle LeBaron's always talking about the Washoe Club, and I want to go there.
Isn't Kira Coffin there too?
I don't know.
From
Probably.
Supernatural Inc. Kira's got the coffin boxes.
Well, now I'm going to have to find out. But yeah, I love the Old West because, I'm pretty close to West Texas, and it seems like the only place we go are brothels. But sure, they're fun. There's a lot of energy there. That's a lot of fun things to do. And then I think the other place I'd want to go would be Leap Island or Leap Castle.
Leap Castle.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go there. Came so close, but
Isn't that Missouri?
Ireland.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one where the oubliette, when they throw the people down there and like see ya, and the what they call it, the Red Chapel, where all the people were getting killed. And
yeah. I think I'm next Friday. Guess who I have on my show?
Is it Sean from
Jenny Sullivan Sannyasi?
Oh, she'll be fun.
And isn't that her territory?
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I'm still going to get to Ireland one day, hopefully soon.
Well, that's fantastic. It's 9:05.
Oh,
I
goodness.
don't know if you have things that you have to get done right now.
Oh, you know me. I'm just writing short stories until I find a career.
Phil says Victoria should speak to Heather Landon. She wrote the book on the haunted Nevada ghost towns.
All righty, I will. Yeah, Nevada would be fun. Arizona was fun. I love living out in the desert. You know, there's so many actual ghost towns out there. Um, but that seems like more of a UFO area that I live. I was in Scottsdale and Mesa. UFOs are everywhere out there.
You don't want to get abducted, do you?
Nah. Well, I don't know. Let me
They
think.
wouldn't know. They wouldn't know how to handle it, would they?
I don't know. Looking at the country right now, I don't know. It's going to get any
It'd
cooler.
be like, you come one step closer, buddy, and you're going to get one of these right between the eyes.
I mean, don't make me smack you.
Well, Philip says, and her documentary is on Tubi.
Okay, excellent. I will check that out.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think if that should be about it. I don't want to keep Victoria from writing, and then she'll blame it on me.
It's the little things we do to pay the rent.
Right. So thank you very much to everybody that was here tonight. It was awesome having you all on. It's been a pleasure. And here's to next week when I should be with my new home on Supernatural Inc. and with both shows being on there, Metaphysical on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, Metaphysical Crossing, and then the Shadow Hour on Friday nights at 8 p.m. also. And we have Jenny Sullivan Sannyasi on from Ireland next Friday night. So that's going to be a great show too. Victoria, thank you very much again for being here. And if you want to hang around a few minutes, it's going to be a short few minutes because I have no outro. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and good night. And that's going to be it. So see you next week. Thank you, Victoria. It's